Hello, heroes. Thank you for tuning in to the 22nd episode of the Nexus podcast. I'm your host, Adam Eastwood, and this week, even though we're light on news, we do have a discussion topic that I've been waiting to talk about. This week, we have our lore-loving, time-altering gamer, David Troy.
Hi, everybody. It's so great to be chatting with you here in the chat room, and also to all of our listeners out there.
We also have our lifestyle geek, Joshua Williams.
Hey guys, I'm happy to be here. I've been trying to think of a cool catchphrase to use at the beginning. I can't think of anything, so you'll get the boring ones for now.
And coming to us from a secret military base, Ben Blazik.
Greetings, everyone, from a secret military base. I hope everyone's having a beautiful Friday night. I do want to add one quick thing. If for whatever reason you want to own a hotel or run one, allow your guests to turn the temperature down in the rooms below 68 degrees. Having that restriction is very unsettling to some people who need it to be colder in the room.
Now that's a catchphrase.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that. I agree 100%. That is the worst thing ever, going into a hotel room and not being able to turn down the heat.
Yep.
I'll never stay in a certain Howard Johnson in Boston ever again.
Until you've been at the Rip Van Winkle in Niagara Falls, New York. Trust me, everything else is Mandalay Bay compared to that. So we're not going to be sponsored by them anytime soon.
So I'll have to keep that in mind. Man. So like usual, we're going to kind of talk about our week in gaming, any epic matches we might have had or seen in Heroes of the Storm. David, what have you been up to?
In terms of gaming in general, when I first started this podcast, I was an arcane mage, and then as I met Garrosh, I switched to a frost mage. So now I'm switching to a fire mage because I'm finding frost a little goofy. So I'm kind of been working on that for the last day or so. But before that, I actually got a chance to play a lot of heroes. Gotten up to level, I think, 16. Since now we've got the lure of the lanyard at level 40 potentially out there. In regards to, I've been playing a little bit of Witch Doctor, just because I really love the concept of the hero. I've spoken about that before on the show, but I've really been having kind of issues in terms of where to place them and how to play them. So I'm kind of doing a very much bribe, kill the minions type of build. So built all around trying to get the mercenaries out and killing the mercenaries, and it's been okay. It's been off and on. It's really dependent on what type of team you're on, if they're strong enough to be able to allow you to do that. But yeah, in terms of wild game stories, I did get a chance to play Tassadar. First time out playing him, I was basically sucked into a 43-minute game. It was just one of these. Yeah, it was funny too, because it was one of these games where I think everyone was solo queuing, a lot of new people. I wasn't on damage, so all I could do was kind of support, and essentially no one knew what to do with the Dragon Knight. So people would capture it and then just kind of die, and then people would capture it and die, and so this game had another Tassadar on the other side. So we just kept shielding everything. So this game lasted literally forever. Pretty much. So by the end, everybody had like 35 kills, 41 kills. It was pretty insane. That's my second best game of the week, but I'll leave my best for Adam to talk about since he was involved.
Oh, thank you very much. Josh, what have you been up to this week in gaming?
I've been playing a lot of Hearthstone and quite a bit of Heroes of the Storm. I don't really have too many epic matches that stood out to me, except for today. I have been put with teams that have no idea what they're doing, and so I haven't won yet today. So hopefully that changes here soon.
Oh man, it better change.
I know, right?
After this podcast, we need some wins.
I know, but I mean, I think it's the other players, not me, because you know me, I'm pretty awesome. So.
And Josh is the most humble person of the week. That's
true.
That's it, man. You're Primetime from now on.
That's your new nickname, Primetime Josh Williams.
Sold. That can be my catchphrase when we start. Primetime is here.
There you go, man.
There you go.
And Ben, what have you been doing game-wise?
It's actually been a pretty light week for me in gaming. I've been spending a lot of hours in the office prepping for the event that I'm currently at right now. So the whole week I've kind of long days in the office, not getting home until later, and not getting in as much watching games on Twitch as much as I used to for the weeks prior. So I'm hoping to catch back up on what I've been doing by spectating since I'm not playing yet. So really nothing to report on that end.
Yeah, for me, I think I got up to level 17. I heard David was really close to me, so I had to make sure to get ahead of him because I can't be the host of the show and let somebody else beat me.
We were kind of like in a duel to the death there. I could see we were both on all the time, trying to
outdo
one-up each other.
So
yeah.
And then last Saturday we had a long night of games. Actually, we actually played with Dills from Into the Nexus, the Instance, TAC, all those, and it was awesome to play with like a full group. We got a couple of people in there, but once later in the night we had like you said, probably the most epic win we've seen in Heroes. And I had a little something to do with it. So
As did I.
As did you. So
although yours was a little more active.
Yeah, so we were playing on Haunted Mines. And for those of you who haven't watched or you haven't really seen Haunted Mines, you basically go down low, you kill basically undead to get skulls, and the skulls make bigger grave golems. So, the match really started, I think, where we were getting dominated pretty well. And we started to come back, and Dave was playing Captain Hammer. Not
Sergeant
Hammer.
Not promoted yet. That would be good good. Once you get your 10 wins, they promote you to Captain Hammer.
Captain Hammer. But then you have Nathan Fillion doing the voice. So, so you took Orbital Strike. So we're like, you know what, we got to push now, otherwise we're going to lose this match. So David goes in, we're pushing, he sets his Orbital Strike, and for those, Orbital Strike was it basically just constantly attacks the target?
Yeah, it's essentially, if you think the old video game Asteroids, where you shoot something and then it comes out the other side, like a continuing loop across the screen. That's essentially what it is. It's a big bullet. Does a fair amount of damage. I think it does about 880 damage. Mm-hmm. So it takes a good chunk out of anything that's there. This was really it was pretty much a desperation push at that point, because they were totally ahead of us, collecting all the skulls. We did basically a suicide mission, and then kind of just before I died, I just shot this thing off kind of diagonally at the palace. Mm-hmm. So they're still at 45% or something on the palace at that point. We're at 20.
Yeah, but luckily we had them pushed, so they weren't actually attacking our palace. So I come back to life, and as I come back to life, the entire team dies. So it's just me on Nova. And I'm like, you know what? I'm invisible, or I'm cloaked, and I start heading my way towards their base. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go after their base. So as I'm heading there, I'm watching Dave's orbital attack just constantly wear it down slightly, making sure the palace doesn't regenerate its shield and bring it lower and lower. So I get there, and it's about 26% health. So, being Nova gets to do more damage coming out of cloak with her snipe. So I snipe it first, and then I just start auto-attacking. And the entire enemy team's on their way to our base. And as I'm about to take my last hit to die from their palace, my last auto-attack goes off, and we kill the palace and win the game. Now, it was just... It's I would compare it to beating Ragnaros on heroic mode, honestly, the way that I felt. And I've never beat heroic Ragnaros, when it was a legitimate kill, but I have to think it felt a lot like that.
It was pretty awesome. It was one of those real movie type moments where the team that shouldn't win comes back improbably, and we were able to do it because we had no business being in that game.
No, we didn't, and literally, if my attacks did a smidgen less damage, or if the attack speed was just a little bit slower, it wouldn't have happened. It was Nova was probably the only person who could have done that. It was it was just luck in those terms, but it felt good. It was awesome. It was, I think at that point there were 3 or 4 of us that were playing together, and we got out of the match and we're like, did that really just happen? So
hats off to you fellas.
Yeah, it felt
Congrats.
Good. It felt really good. It made all the work learning this game worth it.
Yeah, And I'm excited to see more games like that, especially in like a competitive scene. Just knowing that you can fall behind, fight your way back, and just win by like a smidgen. I think it adds to the excitement. I don't feel like I see a lot of that in League of Legends, where it doesn't snowball completely out of control once somebody gets the lead. Ben, you watch a lot of esports. Do you kind of feel the same way, or do you might watch a little more than me? You might see a little more of the comebacks that might be out there.
I'm, for the most part, pretty much in line with you. It's nice to be able to see that, as long as you have people communicating and talking together. Once you get those teams that are just kind of, they throw in the towel attitude, it's over with pretty quickly. But it's really nice to see the tug of war, as I refer to it. I really enjoy watching that, and from a spectator point of view, that's what makes it more interesting. Watching a huge snowball effect is not fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was exciting, and you're like, is it going to happen? And like, I think Dave at the end of it said, he's like, I was on the edge of my seat, and I didn't know if you were dead or if the palace was dead.
Yeah, because we were it was so late in the game that we were all just pretty much like, we weren't going to make it in time to stop the other team whose golem was about to come up. So I'm literally just looking at my orbital strike going around and around and around, and Adam sort of blinking out. But anyway, enough about how awesome we are.
Yeah. So enough about that, and let's kind of talk about the news this week. Very light on news, like I said earlier, but the news is big. We're going to have a BlizzCon 2014. I know a lot of people are feeling nervous, and we have dates. It's going to be November 7th and 8th, and it's going to be all the way in Anaheim, California. I was like, maybe they bring it to the East Coast, but no, they would never do that.
Never going to happen.
Cost efficiency, it wouldn't be worth it.
I know Dave is like, bring it to Toronto, bring it to Toronto.
That would have been nice, considering the timing, yeah.
So, Ben, what are your thoughts on BlizzCon this year about, ticket prices? What do you think what are your general thoughts?
Ticket prices, for one, upping it again, to be expected. I mean, it is what it is. It's one of the hugest events, and it's definitely well worth it, in my opinion, at least from the outside looking in. Now that we're actually going to have, last year we talked about 5 IPs at BlizzCon. Even more so, we're going to be able to talk about it more, because now people are in the game, people are playing it on a consistent basis. We're seeing a lot more, so we're going to go in and have a lot more to do and to talk about at BlizzCon, and hopefully maybe some type of tournament that will go on. Maybe not necessarily like a public open tournament, but maybe they'll bring in guests and do one kind of like what they did for Hearthstone. Yeah, Nexus, Hotscast, all them good peoples, against each other. That'd be actually really fun to do. So it's going to be really, really cool. I think it'll be even bigger than last year, and with the return of it last year, it was pretty huge in itself. And hopefully we'll hear more about the Warcraft movie as well.
Mm-hmm. Josh,
we couldn't hear any less.
That's true. This is true. That's one of the things that they kind of gave away when they said, "Oh, next year we're going to have a little more information." That's when I knew there was going to be another BlizzCon this year. But you're still a little nervous. Josh, you've been to BlizzCon before, right?
Yes, I was at last year's.
And what do you kind of expect different from this year compared to maybe other years? Anything?
I think it's hard to tell because, like you guys said, like Ben said, Heroes, people are playing it already. Hearthstone is out. By then, we may be already there or getting close to the launch of Warlords of Draenor. I think something about this one they're going to show is the next expansion for StarCraft. But, I'm excited to go. I already have my hotel room booked. I just hopefully need to get tickets. But it's worth every penny, I think, personally, even if you're not at the event the whole time, because my guild rented a actual room at the Hilton, and we had a little rest there. You can just go hang out with your guildmates, and that alone was worth the trip. So I'm expecting probably something big this year, something big to be announced that they haven't talked about, maybe the new MMO. Mm-hmm. But that's what I'm expecting, just that and the movie stuff and StarCraft. I think that's going to be the main focus this year, is those 3 things.
What I would think is that the reason why you kind of see the little increase in the ticket price, I think we're going to get extra swag this year because it is the 10th anniversary of World of Warcraft this year. So I think that's going to be something like big. They're going to have to do something really like exciting for that because I mean that's 10 years of a game that a lot of people have played the whole time. I mean, I've played since vanilla, maybe about 6 months after it came out. I've played more World of Warcraft than most games I've ever played in my life.
Yeah, because World of Warcraft was released November 23rd of 2004.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, just weeks away from their 10th year of it actually being out on the shelf.
Exactly. So I think they're going to do something big with that. They've got to.
Oh, I hope so.
So now, David, I know with certain things in your life, you're not going to be able to make it. Are you going to do the virtual ticket this year?
I am. I mean, when I think of BlizzCon, I think of a parking lot in Buffalo. And not a lot of, and I'm getting somewhere with this, I promise.
Okay.
Not everybody knows I'm a season ticket holder for the Buffalo Bills. And as anyone who follows football knows, it's not really the best product on the field. But I'll tell you, they sell out every game, that I've been there for the most part. And, I always think of this family that goes there and they get everything set up. They get the deep fryer set up. They get the bar set up. They got everything set up. And every game, they don't go in and watch the game. They just go there to have fun and meet all their friends and hang out. And to me, BlizzCon has kind of gotten to that point where it's more than the event itself. I'm in a 25-man raid group in the Convert to Raid Guild. As soon as the news came out, everybody's talking about booking hotel rooms. Nobody knows if they're going to have a ticket. Nobody cares if they're going to have a ticket. They're all just getting together and just being part of this awesome community. And I'm really looking forward to everybody being there. Unfortunately, I'm not. Basically, from a timing perspective, my wife is expecting our first child, and the due date is about a week after BlizzCon. So I'm not really. This is one of these things where if she gives birth while I'm at a video game conference, I'm going to hear about for the rest of my life. So this is one of these things where I'm going to have to unfortunately bow out. But in terms of the virtual ticket, I had a great time last year following it. It does give you certain advantages in that, I would love to be there and meet everybody and be part of the party and everything like that. On the other hand, it does give you a little bit of a bird's eye view of everything. And, it really, if you're not able to go, I strongly recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So we're all going to hope that David's wife doesn't listen to the podcast because you did say, unfortunately, I can't go.
Well, if she missed that, she heard it now. She listens.
I know.
Yeah, she can hear me right now. She's fine. She's just like, deal with it, basically.
See,
but she's really supportive of all my gaming, so I can't complain.
Yeah,
there you go. There's always next year, right?
I told her, if you're going to be not 8.5 months pregnant, you can cosplay as Stitches, maybe. And she just was not impressed when I showed her Stitches, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to drop this topic.
That would have been so good.
For me, if I don't get like a ticket, I don't think I'll be going because as much as I want to see everybody, just the time away from my family, I have a daughter that'll be about 1.5 years and a wife, and without like actually being able to go in and see everything, I think it won't be worth it. And I could be wrong, but it's kind of trying to balance it out for me. I know that I think it's kind of weird that they don't have like an actual queue system for getting the tickets, like kind of like how PAX East does it, where you get to the website, signs you in a queue, and then eventually you get your turn. It's literally just first come, first serve. Like if you can refresh fast enough, you're going to eventually get your ticket.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one thing I saw Ro talking a little bit about is it's not a bad idea to get into kind of groups kind of thing. So I think you can, how many tickets can you buy? Once you get in, is it 4?
It was 4 last year. From what I understand, yeah.
It is still 4.
I tried.
So it gives you kind of 4 chances to try and get in first, right? If you're in a clan,
in an alliance.
To get the,
I said to Ro, I'm like, man, I want to join your alliance. And he didn't say anything back, so I wonder if he doesn't want to pick me for his alliance.
Oh
man!
Maybe there's like a upload or download speed required to join into his alliance.
You're going to have to win the immunity challenge.
Yep. I'm voted out again.
One thing I will say is, because I'm in AIE, We had a lot of people at our guild hall event. Some people didn't even have badges to get into the event, but I don't unless they changed it this year. Last year they just saw if you had a badge on. They didn't check the names or nothing like that. So if you went back and hung out with your guild mates and they're like, "Oh, I don't want. I probably might not go for the rest of the night." They can give you their badge and you can just walk in because they don't check the names on them.
That's interesting. Yeah, PAX East was the same way. Your name wasn't even on the badge at all.
You just had to have a badge for it?
You just had to have the badge to go in. So if like
Nice.
I went in and then spend half the day there, I could give it to a friend who could go in. So
Nice.
I don't see it as being a problem. I mean, you have to plan for the fact that many tickets that they sell, that's how many people are going to be there, no matter what, and they don't care who's physically in the spots. The one thing that is interesting in terms of compared to other conventions that I've gone to is that there's no option to get like a one-day pass. It's all or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting, and I guess it's because a lot of people that go there are gonna be going there for the weekend, and getting a hotel, or actually what I've noticed is actually, little condos and houses that you can rent that'll fit like 8 to 10 people, which is really cool, I think, and that's really good for people who want to go and just go with the virtual ticket, hang out, have a refrigerator full of drinks and stuff, and not have to like sit in a small hotel room. So it was really interesting to kind of see that option being presented when I was really checking stuff out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, where you're staying at, though, what you told me, that's where I stayed last year, and that's where I'm staying this year. It's great location.
Yeah.
Right next to it. It's right next to it. You don't even have to drive anywhere. Once you're there, everything's there in walking distance.
Mm-hmm. Well, the cool
and we'll get to hang out and high five.
One of the cool things that I saw, though, is they literally are across the street, some of these places, too, so...
Yep.
We're going to look at it because I know the people from Monk Meditation are planning on going, but they're not getting tickets. None of them. Like
wow.
they're not even going to try. So
I liked it so much out there. I might just, if I can't get tickets, I might just go anyways.
Yeah.
Just because I really enjoyed being out there last year, and like I said, with my guild hall there, if you have like a bunch of friends and guildmates that are going to go, and if you can't get tickets, and you're thinking about going, I would still recommend going, just hanging out for the experience. And like I said, someone may loan you their badge and you get to walk in and see what's going on and maybe buy something there. But totally worth just going and hanging out if you can even, manage to do that. I would recommend that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that is basically our news for the week. Other than, a quick patch to, fix lag issues. We didn't really see any news out and about. There was no actual real patch. But I think we're going to see, a couple more tuning patches in the next week or so, because I definitely see a few things that I think need to be fixed. One being, I still feel Zeratul way too strong. And two, I really think that, Tyrael and Arthas are too weak. So we haven't seen anything with that. So
Arthas is still kind of slow and plodding. I've seen some people kind of figure it out, though. I've seen some out there that have been effective, so I just don't know if everyone's kind of aware of how to do that. I'm certainly not.
Oh, for sure. Now, so this week we're going to have kind of a small discussion, kind of about what we want to see in a rank mode. Ben, what is some features that you think are either mandatory for a rank mode that might already be in other games, or maybe an idea or two that aren't currently in a game?
I think for a competitive sense, given that we're just looking at this type of genre, I think a draft mode is pretty crucial to this, because you need to be able to go back and forth and kind of weigh your options, and having a draft and being able to see what the team's doing and kind of going against each other with counter picks, it's very, very strategic. So I think that's an absolute must.
Yeah, I think it's one of the strengths of the League of Legends system is there's the pick and bans. So you can pick people you don't want to go against, and you can pick counter picks, and everybody, it's kind of, balanced in the way that they do it, because everyone gets to kind of counter somebody. And and like you said, it kind of adds that extra depth that if you just pick random without knowing who's picking what, in those regards. Words are hard today. Sorry.
Good timing.
Yeah, I know. Josh, what do you think? Any ideas?
One thing I thought would be kind of cool, since it's the way it's set up, is maybe with ranks come tabards, like you get in World of Warcraft. I know you used to get them with your PvP ranks. Something like that in the game to give your character kind of a little more customization, depending what rank you are and stuff like that. I think tabards would be cool, or even if they can tabard if you're in a World of Warcraft guild or something like that, where they can have your emblem on them. I think something like that involving the rank system would be kind of cool.
Oh, that is a good idea. Not something I really ever thought of as some kind of a tablet or something in game that lets you show off your rank. However, you should be like playing people that are kind of a close rank to you.
Yeah, but I mean, if we're playing casual games and we're all different ranks, and you get different tabards.
Yep, sure.
Yeah, I definitely like the idea of aesthetics. I didn't even think about that.
Maybe different recolors too. Like they said, they want to give rewards for playing your characters and not necessarily stuff that you have to buy. Which I know, David, you're all about not buying things.
I'm all about not buying things in this game, and I've been pretty good about it. I'm kind of waiting for one of the skin. You know what it is? I may get a skin because it's not really a competitive advantage, but I'm kind of waiting. It's got to be for a hero that I'm going to play a lot, and it's got to be a skin I'm impressed with. So, and I haven't been able to get that combination. There's a lot of fun ones. I just want. There's something I want, and it's just not out there yet. But in regards to the ranking, one thing I would like to see, and it kind of goes a little bit into the draft concept, and this is kind of more from an immersion perspective. I want to see that you can't get duplicate heroes. I want that if you're going to draft it and I draft Stitches, the other team can't have Stitches. And so that way it really does feel kind of like a heroic battle. I think that would be kind of cool, and I think it kind of that builds into the strategy in terms of the draft as well. And it really, you don't get this kind of broken immersion where, Arthas is fighting Arthas, which is fun normally, but, I think in ranked play, it should look really cool because people are going to be watching it.
Absolutely. I agree. I think the big thing that we need to see in kind of the rank mode compared to, say, just the general random mode is I think you need to know the map ahead of time. It's... maybe it's a random map, but it chooses the map, and then you go into like a hero pick and ban stage. I think there are definitely heroes that are stronger on certain maps. So if you're going into pick and bans, say, this is a great example, is if you're going into Haunted Mines, even though I have been playing a ton of Gazlowe and really playing him to what I think is a really strong meta in terms of what he's doing in the game, I don't think you'd ever want to go into a Haunted Mines giving your enemy the chance of having Gazlowe, because once the second time the mines open up, he can go and solo the underground golem, and then they get half 30, 40 skulls right from that. So it's almost like a delay game for the rest of the team where they just can stand at the entrance to the mines and make sure that Gazlowe has enough time to take him out. And really, it's not a long amount of time that it takes him. Once he has his ultimate, it's maybe a 30 seconds, 45 seconds that he's able to take out that golem. So in the end, you need to be able to say, yeah, we don't even want to take a chance at seeing Gazlowe, or maybe, I'm trying to think of some other like specifics, but maybe a witch doctor on Cursed Hollow might be strong. It adds a layer of depth to the game, knowing where you're going to be fighting and before you pick.
From a competitive standpoint, like having that shown, like for example, to relate this back to StarCraft players, when you're in a matchup, whether it's Protoss versus Zerg or Protoss versus Terran, players know each other's good maps, and they know who's weak against what matchups and what's their strongest matchups. So if you know the map going in, that's another thing that you have to analyze about your team. Is like, oh, I know this team going in. We're playing them in a tournament series, and I know that they're really strong on Blackheart's Bay and they're really strong on Haunted Mines. But if we get Cursed Hollow, we can ban these champions and completely nullify them and take a point and so on. So it really adds that competitive aspect to it, even more so than other MOBAs like League of Legends. It's only one map, so all the players in like LCS, they know each other's strengths and weaknesses with different champions, but the map dynamic never changes. So if you ban someone's primary champion, they're just going to fall back to their second. that they already know and they have well planned out for that map. And the dynamic only changes slightly when they do that.
See, I'm going to jump in and disagree with you guys on this particular topic. I think the idea of the random map actually improves the competition in that you're going to have to, the hero comp that you're going to be putting together is going to have to be able to handle diverse situations. You're not going to be able to just have kind of a meta choice of these 5 guys are my Cursed Hollow setup, and these 5 guys are my Dragonshire setup. Maybe you're going to take the chance. Maybe you're going to pick those 5 and hope that you get one of those maps. But I like the idea of having to build a flexible team, kind of a diverse team, a team that can handle a bunch of different situations, kind of like what we have right now. And I think the randomness of the map really is a big part of this game. And I know I think it's been talked about in games like Hearthstone too, and we talked about it with Heroes of the Storm, is that, I want to see the ranked mode kind of just be an enhanced version of the casual mode, which is really what we're playing right now, right? The equivalent of casual in Hearthstone. So for me, I would kind of be a little bummed out if you got to choose the map. I like the idea of the random map and the idea of kind of having to think on the fly a little bit. And, choose your heroes. You don't know what you're going to get. Hopefully there's going to be more maps in the future. And, you're going to have to you're going to have to be good at all of them, basically.
Well, maybe not necessarily like them being able to choose the map. So let's say that we select ranked, okay, and we go in and it's a draft selection. We all start to load into the lobby, and then maybe for like 5 seconds the map name comes up, and then we only have like 40 seconds to make our first champion pick before it goes to the other team. So even in that scenario, when you see the map, you still have to think quick on your feet and kind of figure out, okay, so what champions, who wants to do what are we going to take into this composition for this map? And especially if it's in a tournament setting where you're like, okay, this team, now we got this map, blah, blah, blah. It's not necessarily them picking the map. It's more so they'll see it, and then they have to react quickly, because in draft mode and in the other MOBAs, you only have a certain amount of time to do it.
Yeah, for me, I think that's going to be enough time. I mean, these are some of the best players. They're going to be able to think fast enough to get their comp, and they're going to be prepared. I mean, to me, it doesn't take me too long to write down, okay, here's all the list of the maps, and these are the heroes that I'm going to play with my 5-man team, depending on the map. Again, I mean, I'm you guys have a point, and I think that will lead the game into a certain direction. I just like the idea of that kind of uncertainty. I mean, the way you queue right now in casual, I like this idea of like, okay, I know who I'm playing, but I don't even know who I'm going to be playing with. And, I don't expect that for ranked, because I don't think that would work for ranked to that level. But I do like that idea of just this kind of randomness. Like, you don't know where you're going to end up. This is the Nexus. You don't know. You could end up in Dragonshire. You could end up in Cursed Hollow. You could end up in the Haunted Mines. And if Adam wants to play Gazlowe, that's great. If it's Haunted Mines, you're going to do pretty well. But, if it's Cursed Hollow, you might run into some problems. So that's the risk you take.
One little feature that I think would work in this MOBA, or Hero Brawler, but doesn't work in League of Legends, and it would require a 5th map to do it this way, is I'd like to see ranked mode actually be like a best of 3. So you go in and it's 3 matches with the teams against each other, and then the winner is who gets kind of ranked up. Now, the reason I say that I think it needs 5 is I think both teams should then have the option to go in and pick one map that they want to ban from the matchup. So I'm really big on, and it's funny because me and Dave definitely are like opposites on this one. I'm really big on them knowing the map ahead of time, and maybe even banning, each team bans one map. Maybe if they pick the same map, then it's random of the 4 maps, but then knowing which one before they go into each match, and first 1 to 2 wins that matchup. I think one match to determine who's better isn't necessarily true. I think you really see the better teams in series of 3, and really to the point series of 5. But in a ranked mode, you don't want to go too far, because 5 matches, you're still sticking yourself in the game for hour and 40 minutes. Where with like a best of 3 worst case scenario, I would say it's about an hour. I think they've pretty much stuck to the 20-minute games they've been trying. except for your 43-minute game, David.
Yeah, well, I think that was our lack of skill more than anything else. I mean, that's an interesting compromise. I reject it wholeheartedly, basically, because it still ends up in the same situation where you're just, instead of choosing one map, you're just choosing the 3 maps. You still know what 3 maps you're going to get.
Exactly.
Maybe one way to kind of make it work is the other team doesn't know which one you've kicked out.
Mm-hmm.
That might be an option. So like you're kicking out 1 out of the 5, but you don't know which 3 out of the other 4 you're going to pick.
Yep.
That might be that's my counter offer. I still kind of would like it to be completely random, but I mean that's one way to look at it too.
But see, that's where this game can truly excel, with giving options. So let's just kind of spitball this for a minute. You go in and your options are maybe normal versus, which is how David prefers it. You pick your champion and it's like a random matchup and you don't know the map. Then you've got ranked play, where you'll do the draft mode and it'll be a single map. And then you have ranked series, which is Adam's perspective of multiple maps, and it goes into an extended series against the same team, and you can get points and it gets matched up online and you can track it and stuff like that. But you would have to maybe, let's say, create a team inside the client in order to do something like that.
Mm-hmm. Now, Josh, you've been pretty quiet about this whole topic. What are your thoughts?
The maps, I could have either way on the maps. It doesn't matter what map I play on. But draft modes for heroes and banning heroes, I personally don't like that, because I like to find a hero that I like and play and stick with them, and I don't like the fact that someone can choose me not playing them. It shouldn't be up to them. I'm the one playing the game. I should be allowed to play them.
Mm-hmm. See, I agree with you there, but I think that's, like, not to pick on your thoughts, but I think that's the casual way of doing it, is you just play whoever you want. Where in ranked, it's kind of like you need to be kind of more all around and have the ability to kind of be on the fly and be like, you know what, I really like, Gazlo, but Witch Doctor or Sergeant Hammer can do something similar, so I need to know how to play them as well, because I think that's where you're going to see the top tier people, the people who have the broader hero base. That's what you see in like an LCS. I think the players that do the best are the ones where they're like, you know what, we can't pick or ban against, I think it was Jurgensen? I can never say his name right. He's a mid laner for Team Solo Mid. It's hard to pick and ban to, kind of center him out, because he's such a diverse group of champions he can play, so then they have to kind of attack somebody else. And I think that kind of sets the difference between like a good player and a great player in hero brawlers.
Yeah, but wouldn't a good player be able to counter the Gazlo going into the mines?
Yes, but if...
And a good team, shouldn't they be able to stop that from happening regardless?
Yeah, but if you're picking and banning, it adds... Because there are some people that can't go up against Gazlo, because it's just a hero, like something wrong with the hero. And I understand, like you're saying, a good player be able to go up against him anytime, but there's just certain people that can't. Just like Gazlo, he's very weak in one-on-one situations against other players. You're worrying too much about hard counters, I think.
And so this is the great thing about like the communities. Kind of, I know it's going to sound a little weird, but butting heads essentially, because we get more out of it when that happens. So that's kind of goes back to my whole thing about giving the options. Giving us the options to do that allows people like me who are really competitive, and I love esports, and I love, going up against teams and getting that win. Allows me to go in, do that with my team, and then at the end of the day, I can still come back to the table and be like, hey, I'm still a gamer and I still want to have fun. So Josh and I can party up together and go do a versus mode, and he can play whatever champion he wants, and nobody's going to hinder that.
Mm-hmm. Having options.
You know what I would, yeah. Sorry, Adam.
Oh no, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think to sort of kind of finalize my thoughts on the topic, it's not so much my opinion, your opinion, everybody's opinion. What I want Blizzard to do is really, and you touched on it, Adam, was who should the best players in the world be? Should it be the guy who's the best at Arthas, and then the other, and a team of the guy who's best at this? Or should it be the players who are best, the best players who have the broader swath of ability to the point where they can play 7, 8 different heroes? And then, whatever decision, the community comes to with them, That sort of should be how they build it around. And, instead of kind of building the structure, maybe build who you think the champion should be, and what type of players should be the best players in the world, and then from there build it around that. I'll tell you who I don't want to see in ranked play is solo queues. Is one thing. I think it should have to be pre-made groups, sort of like what they did with heroic scenarios in WoW. I really don't like the idea of any type of solo queuing because I don't think it's fair to the solo queuers, to be perfectly honest. And I don't think it's going to be particularly fair to other ranked teams that maybe won't be, through luck of the draw, playing as many solo queue teams. Because as we all know, if you're solo queuing, your chance of winning drops quite a bit.
What about 2 separate ranking systems, one for solo queue and one for team ranks? Yeah. Because sometimes when I'm on, not anyone's on, and if I want to play ranked, then I'd be screwed.
Yeah, I agree.
But if there's two separate ranking systems, one for solo queues and one for team ranks, then I'll be able to work on my solo ranking system until my friends log on and work on my team ranking. Kind of like what StarCraft does, where you have, your league for 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, and 3 they're all separate.
Yeah, and League of Legends does that, where you can either solo or duo queue, so me and Dave can be in one ranked position, but if the 4 of us and one other person always get together, we actually have a team. And, I think they have to have both, because there are definitely going to be those people out there that don't have a team behind them, but they still like the kind of the ranked feel. Mm-hmm. And if for those people, I say, hey, come talk to us. We'll play at some point with you. But there are some solo gamers out there that enjoy just playing by themselves.
Just playing solo, yeah.
But you can build groups in chat, right? We've seen people do the LFG. I'm not saying like kick that out, but I'm just thinking that it rather than kind of like a dungeon finder type of queue.
Yeah.
You can do that. I mean, there's still not, but at least it gives those groups a chance to maybe get together in Mumble or Skype or something as an opportunity, rather than and maybe that's what you're doing in chat is spamming LFG need Skype or something like that. So that way at least there isn't a communication gap between them and a 5-man group. Because I think that's a lot of different options, right? Like we're already at practice, co-op, and versus. So then we'd be adding even 2 more on top of that.
I'm okay.
I think once it comes out though, and not only like it seems like 2,000 people are in it right now, and when we get millions of people in it, I don't think regardless what queue you go to is not going to be hard to find matches.
Yeah,
I think the first thing, if it does go in the way of you pick your champion before the map, kind of like David said, is they need a better matchmaking system if they have a solo queue, because they need to make sure you're not getting stuck with 4 support in a ranked match. Like, yes, I've seen it work, and I've won matches where it's like 3, maybe 4 supports and an assassin, but it's an uphill battle. The team has to work together because they need to support each other towards the win, rather than having those 2 people that can kind of handle themselves while support's kind of moving back and forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I was in a game with 3 specialists, and we were able to win. But the specialists we had were like Witch Doctor, I was Sergeant Hammer. So I mean, those are kind of very damagey type specialists. Once the game expands and we're talking about specialists that maybe we were talking last week about Mechatork and things like that maybe build up your turrets and things like that. I think you're right. I mean, we are going to need to have some kind of holy trinity, dare I say it, in terms of the queuing.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I have a feeling that'll get balanced out though once we get a lot more people in. Right now, I think we just have to deal with it, which sucks because I hate going in with I've had it where there has been 4 supports and it's like, come on guys, pick something different, and you can't. Once you figure out who's who, you can't switch your character, which I think would be something they should be able to add. Maybe pick your characters after they find the other 4 players for you.
Exactly. So, well, I think that'll do it for our discussion topic this week. We still have our hero spotlight to hit, and we're actually going to get something done that we've been telling people we're going to finish for like 3 or 4 weeks now. So we're going to go ahead and move on into it.
This is the Hero Spotlight.
And this week we are going to be completing our Night Elf Trilogy, a delayed trilogy, but we're going to complete it nonetheless. So without further ado, David's going to kind of finish it up with the High Priestess Tyrande Whisperwind.
That's right. So I feel like one of those old-timey radio announcers. It's like when last we left, Illidan and Tyrande and Malfurion.
Well, they're making it out live.
All three of them. Yeah, the big cliffhanger.
Yeah.
We'd last talked about them and the War of the Ancients and a little bit about what Night Elves are all about. So I'm just going to kind of briefly touch on kind of what happened afterwards. Essentially, not very much for tens of thousands of years. The Night Elves just go on their way after repelling the Legion, pretty much until these green guys show up in their forest called orcs. And they're led by Grom Hellscream, who's the father of current bad guy, spoiler, Garrosh Hellscream. Anyone who hasn't been anywhere near World of Warcraft for the past 9 months. And so Grom shows up. He's been kind of gets himself imbued with some demonic energy, and he actually shows up and kills one of their gods. Basically kills Cenarius, who's the one who taught Malfurion how to be a druid in the first place. So Tyrande obviously needs to do something about this. The Burning Legions return. They got these orcs running around chopping down their trees. So Malfurion's been asleep for thousands of years, and so she goes off to free to wake him up. But she decides to free Illidan at the same time, who last we'd met had being Illidan the betrayer had betrayed the Night Elves, surprisingly. So he does help Tyrande. He's always had a thing for Tyrande. And he actually, at the same time as this is all happening, Arthas, as you've recognized from the game, you probably killed him a few times in Heroes, is tormenting everybody with his undead legion. He is going to fight Illidan, but he basically tricks Illidan. He offers Illidan this skull of this powerful warlock, Gul'dan, who's an orc. And you'll see him in the new Warlords of Draenor expansion. Basically, he tricks him into taking the skull because it's all of this power. So Illidan, surprisingly, betrays them again. And basically takes the skull of Gul'dan, which gives him demonic energy, basically becomes a demon himself. This is the classic you are not prepared Illidan that we all know and love from the Burning Legion expansion. So he basically... at that point, he's discovered, and Malfurion is just so sick of Illidan at this point. You're not my brother anymore. I don't want anything to do with you. Get out. I'll see you in the expansion, kind of thing. And so at that point, Malfurion and Tyrande basically join forces with Jaina Proudmoore and the humans and Thrall and the orcs. And basically, this is Warcraft 3 at this point. They fight the Burning Legion. They essentially sacrificed their world tree to defeat Archimonde, who's the general leading the Legion against them. And at that point, the Night Elves really lose their immortality. They lose so much of what they are, and that's really kind of where you pick them up in World of Warcraft. So I'm not going to get into too much of that. For those of you who haven't been to Outland, go there, find out what happens to Illidan. He's still being chased by Maev's Shadowsong. You're still not prepared. Although you might be better prepared now that you're level 90 to take him on. But, it's still, there's a lot of good stuff there, and I don't want to spoil the game. So this is the officially last time I will be talking about Night Elf lore on this podcast. Thank you.
Now,
until we get Maev.
Yeah, until we get Maev. Or Gerard, man.
Or Jared, yeah.
Man, we could be talking about them a lot. There's a lot of Night Elves out there.
Part 4 coming up.
Part 4 to be continued. So in terms of gameplay, Tyrande, as you can expect, being a priestess, is a support character. Her passive ability involves her attacking a target and marking them. Marks them for 3 seconds. And anyone who attacks that target will actually heal for a little bit of healing. I believe it starts at 8 health and might go up as you level.
I would hope so, because 8 health at level 20 would suck. She also has the Light of Loon, which heals an ally and then also heals herself for half the amount.
She's also kitted with a pretty handy ability. Sentinel sends a sentinel across the battleground, revealing its path, dealing damage, and reveals heroes hit for 5 seconds.
She's also got Lunar Flare. After a short delay, it deals damage and stuns enemy in the target area for 1 second. This is that little circle that everyone gets out of, except for me when I'm low on health. But yeah, it's basically kind of her little mini AoE damage ability.
You're supposed to get out of the poo. And one which I think is kind of the lesser used, but I think definitely adds a little more utility, that is the Shadow Stalk, where she cloaks all her allies on the map for 8 seconds and gives them a 30% speed increase. I don't see a lot of people using this one. I think there probably are specific times, maybe there'll be specific maps where it'll be more beneficial than others. And then you have Starfall, which is the one that you see all the time as she puts out a big giant circle, and it just deals damage every second and slows the enemies, so it's hard to get out of them. A lot of times you see her use her Lunar Flare to stick them in place and then drop the Starfall on top of them. A nice big AoE. Any of you had time to really play Tyrande at all?
I have.
What do you think?
She's a lot of fun. I mean, she can. To me, I feel like she can deal a decent amount of damage. Not the best, of course, but she can hold her ground. And since she's ranged, she can get out of it, away from people quick enough. And she's a decent healer too. So I mean, she's pretty good at both of those roles. The way they got her now seems very on par with how I expect her to play, where she can hold her ground, but is really good at healing too.
I think it's really cool how she kind of has that hunter priestess feel to her. She it's a really good feeling, and it's actually exactly kind of what I expected from her after reading kind of the War of the Ancients trilogy, because she didn't feel like just the priestess who kind of heals and that's it. She gets her hands dirty a little bit.
Yeah.
So in terms of skins that they have the Blood Elf one, which I think is really cool.
Amazing looking.
I think they did a really great job with that one. I think, I'd like to see a lot more. I'd like to see Malfurion actually as a Blood Elf now. See what they kind of do with him. I mean, there's got to be a world where they stick together and both become Blood Elves somehow.
Coming up, the Blood
absolutely.
Elf Trilogy.
The Blood Elf Trilogy.
Tyrande, I kill Tyrande all the time. Anytime I see a group, I look out for Tyrande and I kill her. I'm thinking she's gotta probably need a buff because I keep killing her all the time. I haven't had a chance to play her. She sounds like it. She's pretty nicely balanced, but maybe people who play her just don't play her very well around me, because she is definitely my mark in this game so far. I'll always go after her.
You're just that awesome, David.
You're I've been wanting.
But everybody else I can't kill. Just Tyrande.
You're I've been wanting to talk about you for weeks. I'm gonna kill you until I do.
Maybe that's it. There's something deep seated here. I've been possessed by Archimonde or something.
Now, in terms of kind of team ups, I find that she works really well with Tychus, and I think I might have mentioned this before, but kind of talking about her, it's a good time to point out again. His attack speed mixed with her mark just allows him to heal up so quickly that it's a deadly combo. And it's not even like a wombo combo type of thing where it's just hit one big hit. It's just a consistent stream of health going back to Tychus, especially if Tychus was to take something like Vampiric Attack, where he's already gaining health from his attacks. Me and another person have tried the combo out a couple times, and there were just times where we were able to go against a Diablo or Stitches and another assassin out there, and I was just able to heal myself up enough as Tychus to make it so it didn't really matter, which was really cool. Have any of you guys seen any other mixes? I know, Josh, you said you played them. You see any other kind of combos out there?
Not really. I mean, I've helped Stitches and Diablo with her. Because she can, stay back and do the damage and then heal them once needed. But other than that, nothing, no really big combos that didn't seem out of the ordinary.
That's true. Actually, just you talking about Diablo, and I haven't really played Stitches, but Diablo and I believe Muradin is you can actually double your healing generating abilities. So, that mark is, again, another powerful, because you're getting double the healing back from the mark as well.
Mhm.
Does the Hunter's Mark work on structures?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, see, I could, like something like when you're pushing a palace, that sounds like something that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's a very versatile. Whatever she attacks, it goes on.
Yep.
I like it a lot.
A couple other combos she has too. She works great with the Demon Hunter and Nova. I mean, all around her kit, she's not like a carry per se, and she is a support. However, she's capable of kiting and doing an okay amount of damage. Her base damage is 50 plus 5 per level. It's not the highest, but it's also not the lowest. So she is capable of kiting pretty well. And if you put her with another range that has a pretty good poke on it as well, you've got twice the amount of poke in whatever lane or whoever you're going up against. At least off the start, you can do a lot of damage, especially with the ability to stay in it with the healing. It definitely, I mean, of course, always depends on who you're facing, but her kit all around is just pretty well structured.
Yeah, and what I've seen, like in terms of her kind of working with other supports, and it seems like it makes sense, is her and Malfurion, two supports, actually work really well together because they have a lot of, Malfurion has the ability to hold someone in place, she has the ability to stun, and they both can drop down, like, massive amounts of damage, especially with Malfurion with his kind of, Moonfire build. So you hold someone in place between his Entangling Roots, her Lunar Flare, and then you use Starfall and Moonfire to kind of finish them off. It's actually a lot of damage to a small area at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So she's, like you said, she's just really good to work with a lot of people. So, okay, I think that is going to do it for our show. Ben, why don't you let people know where they can find you?
You can find me mostly on Twitter at Stacks and Packs. It's STAKSNPAKS. And also on obj1.net, where we have just a general gaming industry podcast. It's ramping up.
Mm-hmm. And Josh, what about you? Where can people find you?
Find me in the basement. You can find me on Twitter at Pakawan_AIE. It's PAKKUAN_AIE. You can find me on there, tweet me, follow me. I'll tweet back. I don't got anything else going on, so as soon as I see that Twitter pop up on my phone, I check it. But yep, find me there or in the game if you're playing.
And last but not least, David, what about you?
You're going to find me probably getting chased around by a bunch of Tyrandes in-game for the next little while. I got a feeling I'm going to be like Kurt Russell in Death Proof for the next month or so. You can find me on Twitter at BrlanCTR. That's Brlan with 2 L's and 2 A's. I'm also going to start streaming some Heroes and some Hearthstone as well, so I should be getting that up at some point this weekend on Twitch. Also, for those who are in the Convert to Raid Guild, we are going to be doing a little bit of team gaming in Heroes for those of you who are in the alpha at around 9 p.m. Eastern on Mondays. There's some information in the forums on that, and we're looking forward to seeing you there.
Mm-hmm. And you can reach me at Geek of Random on Twitter. You can ask the show any questions you have about Heroes of the Storm at show@heroesofthenexus.com. For those of you who do not listen to us live, but actually listen to us in the podcast land, we go live every week at twitch.tv/heroesofthenexus. Now, next week, we're going to actually begin our first kind of contest. I'm not going to let anyone know what we're going to give away because you're going to want to show up and find out. All I am going to say is having an extra day or two to get, kind of get started on it will be very helpful. So we'll leave it at that. If anyone has any questions about the contest, maybe ahead of time, what time we record. If you mess up with times, just send us an email. We'll let you know so you can get the full information next Friday. I think that'll just about do it. If you guys are all set, we're gonna kind of head out, and you guys have a great weekend and have a great night. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Come to me,
Stay cool,
Tyrande.
sporty sports.
I know you're a foot taller than me, Tyrande. It's okay.
And we can stop the recording. Okay, chat room. If you guys don't know already, we're going to sign off pretty quick right now because we're going to get some stuff together. We are actually going to play a match. It's going to be a best-of-3 match against Hotscast in their group. So we're going to get that up in probably about 10 minutes or so. I'm going to grab a drink and talk to them to make sure that they're ready for it. We're going to bring the beating, and we're going to.
They are not ready for us.
Yeah, we're going to be streaming it right here. I was going to say, I also think they'll probably end up streaming over on theirs as well. So it'll be great. Thanks for the Q&A. We didn't do any Q&A, did we?
Thanks, Game DJ Kino.
Yeah.
Well, we did kind of a Q&A with the
yeah.
rankings and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, it was kind of a discussion. Yeah, if you ever have any questions, the other DJ, I guess, Game DJ, send us some questions. We love answering questions. We actually got a question last week that was a lot of fun to answer. I think that's some of the best stuff is when we get questions. It makes it we can cut out a discussion topic because we basically get discussion topics from you guys. It's great.
Why does David hate esports?
Be like, Ben B asks, David, why all the hate for the esports? Okay, well, I'm going to bring
coming next episode. We'll find out. Stay
tuned. We're going to bring the stream down, but we will be back in the next 10 to 15 minutes to get this match on going. Talk to you guys later. Be right back.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.